When you walk up to the vehicle with the key, it has a full proximity system, and when it senses the key, it'll go ahead and turn on the interior lights. Also, the ambient lights will also turn on. When we hit the unlock button, it'll flash the lights and then slowly turn on some exterior lights here to accompany the interior lights. So we have some safety features here. The headlights are controlled here on the screen, so you can turn off the exterior lights like so, and you can even put it in drive and drive the vehicle. It'll give you a warning here, but it won't turn on the exterior lights automatically. So let's go ahead and turn on the parking lights. The parking lights here on the front are these white daytime running lights here at the top. Looking pretty good. Kind of like an accent light, I suppose, as well. And there's also an amber side marker here in the front. There's a red side marker here in the back. I don't know if you can tell, but the little light looks like the Buick emblem. It's kind of cool. Then the tail lights are on, and they're red in color. And it goes all the way across the vehicle, looking really sharp. Nice, sharp, deep red. On camera, it looks a little bit blown out, but it is a deep red, sharp color. Tag lights are also on now. The turn signal here in the front is amber in color, and it basically takes that white light, turns it amber, and is brighter as well. And it has a little swoopiness, little swoopy motion. It's real fast, so it kind of looks like a flicker, but it kind of like swoops from inside to out. And definitely gets your attention. It's bright enough everybody can see it. There's also a turn signal indicator here on the side mirror. It's amber in color, not super bright, but you can see it from the front, the side, and the back. It's a little bit brighter looking this way, but it's smaller. And then the turn signal back here is red, a little swoopiness again, once again, but it's red in color. It's fairly bright, and it's very visible here, so you can see it. But yeah, let me lower the brightness so you can see that little swoopiness. Pretty cool. There's also a brake light at the top of the glass. It's the third brake light. Now I have the low beams on, and we're going to look at it driving on the road as well. But the low beams are basically these projectors turn on, but it's the upper projector that's giving most of the light. The other one isn't quite as bright, and I don't know if you can tell, it's just on basically just so it's make it even, but this is where the most of the light is coming from, the top projector. You see, that's what it looks like. It looks pretty cool with those daytime running lights, or the accent lights now, and the headlights on. You see that. Now if I'm 6 feet tall, looking directly at the headlights, it's not blinding me, but if I dip the camera down so about 2.5, 3 feet off the ground, that's where most of the light is. So it has a clear cutoff below that. Now let's switch to high beams. And basically high beams are now that lower projector is now much brighter, and that gives a higher position as well. So we maintain that low beam, and then we add an additional light through the other projector for the high beams. So it just adds that additional light. So hopefully that'll translate well when we're actually on a dark road, and see how the headlights actually perform on a dark road. The cargo light is just this one light right here. Very dim, not very good, and it's in the center, and it's intended to be like an over-the-shoulder type light. But as I walk up, if I'm in the middle too, it casts a shadow right where I need to look. So I have to like stand off to one side or the other because there's this huge shadow from that light. We do have light interior too, but man, it's just not very good. If we had dark interior, it'd be even worse. So yeah, this is a really poor lighting situation. There should be some lights inside the cargo area, not just on the tailgate. And if you're going to go with a light on the tailgate, have one on each side, so that way it's over your shoulder, not like blocked by your head. And also have them brighter. Like, it's not very bright. I do have my camera brightness turned up so you can see in there, but it has been a hassle using my equipment sometimes, even with the light interior. The inside of the back door, you can see the light interior really helps out when you have the interior lights on. There's no puddle light or anything, unfortunately. There's no pocket lights or anything. Even this window switch doesn't even appear to be lit up or anything, but it does have an accent light. And I have it set to green. It's a like an ambient light set to green. But yeah, when we have the interior lights on, it is bright in here pretty much because we have light interior. Third row seats are okay as far as the lights. Have those lights there, but they mostly shine on these seats. They don't really shine here in the back seat area much. Now there's some USB ports that are not backlit. You can see those USB-C ports there, one on the other side. But yeah, third row is not all that great. Even though we have these bright lights right here, it's just not shining back there. Now these lights, one on each side of the sunroof, and then that light mostly shines in this area. So yeah, pretty decent second row lighting. Now there's climate control here, and then there's USB ports here, and then there's a power inverter. There's a little compartment in here that's not that, there's no pocket light or anything there, and it's pretty deep. Inside of the front door does have a puddle light. So you can see it shines on the ground, showing you what you're going to step in when you get out. I wish it had like an approach light or anything, or something like that. Okay, so there is a backlit button for the power lift gate. These are all backlit here. You see those. These are backlit. And you have more accent lights, ambient lights. There's no floorboard illumination. And then the light here is just coming from the center. So not all that great, even though we have light interior. So it's like the second row gets all the light, but there's not much light here. So I have the door open, interior lights are on. Let's see what it looks like here. And the lights shine here. Like if you need to read something, they're shining right here. So they're not shining in my face. As a driver, that's good. We have the light where we need to see, but it's not all that great for, say, this compartment, which doesn't have any kind of light. So yeah, interior lights are good for, you know, reading something, but yeah, I guess that's just what they're for. Now these are reading lights, so instead of having the dome light up here, they had just had the reading lights turn on. There's no other lights. Typically these lights won't be your main only lights. These are just your reading lights, but they just did away with the whole dome situation and just gave you the reading lights only. So let's go ahead and shut the door. And the interior lights fade out. And we're left with the backlit buttons here. And some ambient lights here. So the steering wheel is illuminated. You have some backlit buttons to the left. Screens look good. Screens look really good. And then there's some USB ports here that are backlit. The charger has the ambient light in it, so it's actually not just lit, but also has the color that you choose. Little dial is backlit. The cup holders have the ambient light in them. Nice. I wish that compartment down there had a light. And the floorboard illumination, something like that, that'd be cool. This center console does have a light, but it's only underneath this big tray. But it is nice and bright, and it kind of just shines on one side, not the whole thing. But yeah, wish it was a little bit, you know, more effective lighting there. Glove compartment has no light. No light in the glove compartment. Interesting. All right, so that's two main compartments that are completely dark, and even with the interior lights on, still having trouble seeing some of them. Okay, so the rear view mirror is actually pretty good. I mean, it has some issues as far as being overly bright and washed out during the day, but at nighttime it works well. It works really well. Same thing with the camera system here. So go ahead and pop that up. It's rather small on the screen, but it works well. You can see all around the vehicle, front, sides, everywhere. You can get the side view, overhead. Even in the shadows, it looks well. It looks, you know, good enough to where you can see. And above that is the OnStar four-way flasher. There's also a little ambient light right here that shines down in super dark areas. This area will be kind of have like this moonlight effect to it. There's the sunroof controls, which are backlit. Little place to put your sunglasses. There's no light in there, obviously. That's not a thing, really. And then the visor has fairly bright lights, but they're soft enough to where they're not really, I mean, they're shining in my face, but they're not really that bad. In the ambient light settings here, you can have the brightness. You can adjust the brightness there, which I have on full brightness right now. And then I can go to customize, and there's the different colors. And there's different categories of colors. So you have the red colors, the orange colors, and then so on. This is the yellow ones, green, blue, purple, and then you have the different pastel, I guess, colors here. So you can kind of narrow it down because there's a lot of different color options. So you can narrow it down to, different categories. So let's say you want like a pinkish purple. I'm gonna turn the brightness back up on the camera. There's like a pinkish purple, and then we'll go more of a darker purple there, and you can see the light is in here as well as there on the doors. It's on the back doors everywhere, the front doors, and here on the dash, and then in the cup holders and places like that. I'll go to a red. I'll just go to a bright red there. Once again, it's illuminated everywhere. And then there's oranges and pinks and green. Green looks pretty good, stands out. Blue always looks good. Blue ambient light is nice. And once again in here and everywhere. But yeah, I wish I had the floorboard in this compartment here and the glove compartment. That would help out a lot. But yeah, there's a lot of different color options there. At the bottom of the projector stack, there's a reflector cornering light. So as I turn the steering wheel to the left, you can see that cornering light illuminates that area to the left. And then as I turn to the right, it'll turn to the right. So there's the headlight pattern on a fence. And there's the high beams and the low beams. On the low beams, there's a little spot right in here that's supposed to line up with the oncoming lane. It's a shadow, basically, a notch. And it's supposed to line up with the oncoming lane so we're not blinding drivers and stuff when it's wet roads and glare and deviations and, up and down on the road. But yeah, that cornering light works really good. I like cornering lights. When it's dark, it shines a light right where you're turning into. So yeah, cornering lights I like cornering lights better than the movement headlights, Okay, a lot of traffic out tonight. So let's see what it looks like here. Yeah, it's hard to tell. But with all the cars here. But yeah, it looks like the low beams. Let's see. Yeah, that shadow's halfway on my lane and half on the other lane. So it's not 100% lined up with the oncoming lane. So it's probably just an alignment issue. That's what it looks like. But yeah, overall, it's kind of like there's a little bit too much shadow going on in my lane. But I can see on the sides of the road well. Yeah, not really. On the road is, especially with all these cars coming, seems like the road in front of me isn't all that bright. And it could possibly be because of that shadow there. Up close to the vehicle is fine, but it's just, it fades off rapidly. Now it's a little bit darker down here. It's easier to tell when it's darker. When all these street lights kind of mix in, it messes everything up. Okay. Try to get alone here for a second. Okay, so yeah, that right now it looks like that shadow is lined up good. But yeah, I think it's just the brightness. And the high beams doesn't solve the low beam brightness problem. Actually, the high beams have a brightness problem too, I think. Okay, so let's look at this. Yes, it just fades rapidly. And then there's like a big shadow in front of me. I can see the trees. It helps with the trees in the distance. But as far as like me seeing the road better, the high beams aren't really doing much here. It's like there's this gap too between the low and high beams. It's not lined up properly or something. All right, so let's hopefully it'll go. Okay, yeah. So yeah, I can see the trees good up in the trees. If I'm looking for squirrels, that's good. Yeah, I mean the road's okay. When it's super dark like this, I can see the road, but it's not overly. It needs to be a little bit brighter, I think. The brightness is definitely an issue. I can see on the sides of the road. It's just the center of the road just needs to be a little bit brighter. Now they did a decent job, other than the gap between the low and high beams, which is like, you know, not lining up right or something. They did a decent job as far as like spreading out the light, you know, and getting it all the way to the ends of the road, the sides of the road and stuff. So if looking for deer and stuff like that is fine. But I don't know if you can tell. It's like there's a gap between the low and the high beams. So yeah, the high beams are just like up in the trees, and the low beams are too dim and kind of too close to the vehicle, and so there's this gap right where I need to look down the road, the center of the road in front of me, the distance I need to see. That's where I need, you know, a little bit more light in this particular case. But yeah, maybe it's an alignment issue. I think it's just these headlights need to be designed a little bit better and a little bit brighter. I like the idea of having an additional light turn on, but it's not turning on and doing what I needed it to do, which is illuminate the road as far as possible in front of me. So yeah, it's okay. I would say if you would line it up a little bit better, then I would put it in the adequate category. Not great, not impressive, just that adequate range.